the meeting to order, please. We'd like you to stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, we call the roll, please.
Mr. Mitchell? Taylor? Ms. Gadd? Here. McGowan? Ms. Romney, present. Ms. Kelly? And Ms. C.
President. We do have a quorum. We'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight, and we ask that you bear with us because we do have an agenda tonight. We do have some guests that will be introduced by our superintendent in a little while, so please stay and hear the conclusion of the whole matter. At this time, I'd like to entertain an approval of the agenda. I have a support. I need I have a motion. I need a support. I have a motion and a support. Madam Secretary, if you would call the roll.
Ms. Gadd? Yes. McGowan? Yes. Romney, yes. Ms. C.
Yes.
And Mr. Mitchell?
Yes. Motion carries. Item D on the agenda is public comment. And we'd like again to say we welcome public participation. We'd ask that if you could keep your comments to 3 minutes. And at the time of your comments, the board usually does not respond, but we will try to get your response in a timely fashion. So if we could, if you have something you'd like to say, come to the table, please. Give us your name and address.
Hi, my name is Ruby Lewis. Hello, hi. My name is Ruby Lewis. I'm here on behalf of my son, Tristan McCoy Lewis.
Thank you. Pull it back on too. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, yes, I'm here on behalf of my son, Tristan McCoy Lewis. He's a 504 IEP student. He was, on October the 16th, 2017, my son, Mr. Rosenberg, came and took my son out of the classroom and took him to check his locker, searched my son's coat, and then took him to the office. No problem walking to the office, no problem with searching my son's locker or his coat. Once he entered in the office, he took him in a small room in the office. When he walked in the office, Mr. Wynn, Nick Wynn, a security guard that was working there at the time, and another student was sitting there. My son, as he walked in, Mr. Rosenberg threw my son up against the wall and asked him to check his pockets, put one hand behind his back and put the handcuff on him. Mr. Wynn ran up and put a handcuff on him. Checked my son's pocket, claiming he assumed that my son had marijuana in his pocket. A small piece of marijuana, no bigger than a pencil lead. Then Ms. Rosenberg ended up picking it up off the floor. They informed my son, slammed him all up against the locker with both handcuffs. Mr. Wynn hold his hand back, they put the handcuffs on him. Kept slamming his head up against the wall to a steel cabinet. Okay, never once was I called. Okay, now when I get up there, another student ran to me and said, "Oh, they beat your son up." I said, "What did he do?" He said, "He didn't do anything. It was my fault what I did. I did." And so when I walked in there, I saw my son all beat up, face all bruised up on one side, whole body on one side bruised up. And so they told my, they just had called me after they did what they done to him. After they beat my son, slammed them all up against the locker, did whatever they wanted to do in a private room amongst themselves on a 13-year-old young boy. Okay, I had to call the ambulance to come get my son from ACA Fair Plains Junior High, where Ms. Rosenberg works at. And he came, the ambulance came, he said he swallowed some marijuana. They assumed he swallowed some marijuana. That's what they was telling me, he swallowed marijuana. So why did they call me or the ambulance? They sitting there laughing, giggling, oh, he got marijuana in his system, ha ha ha, bet you gonna find it now. Sitting there like it's funny, slamming his whole face, everything up. So I called 911. Yes, I got upset because for once they did not call me. Then no one called the ambulance. They just took things in their manner, they just took it in their own manner, did whatever they want to do, because they do what they want to do. They can come tell whatever they want to tell, they can get by with it. But my son was 13 years old, and he soon, I had an open board meeting for my son. Mine is not no closed section, and anybody that's interested in knowing anything about it, they can listen to the text or go back and read the program, whatever that happened in the meeting, because it's sad, because he had several students with arm in his side of his face, all down his arm, his whole head, everything, contusion. How can a young man be fighting back with handcuffs on his hand? Okay, for one, Ms. Rosenberg told a lie that my son was fighting back. My son did not never strike Ms. Rosenberg nail time. Mr. Rosenberg and Mr. Nickmore got my son to security guard and handcuffed him and beat him up in a small room office. And I have proof what they did. When I went up there, the young man demonstrated and told me what they had done to my son. My son was in there all red, beat up and bruised up. And and yes, I took my son out of Ben Harbor school system. He is online schooling now, and he's doing very well. Because 504 plan, they let him down, IEP let him down, and I never once kept calling the superintendent, never put people with the superintendent. Only thing I got was so many different people coming to answer the phone, telling me, hanging up in my face. They didn't want to listen to me, want to take my messages for, never once spoke to her.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say that I just feel like there's something that needs to be said. Being that, born and raised in Ben Harbor, growing up around Ben Harbor, working in the school system for a while, you see a lot, you hear a lot, you know a lot, and there's also a lot of things that you don't know. But one thing that I feel needs to be said that is not being addressed is the root of a lot of problems, or the root of the main problem, something that's totally being overlooked. I wrote a few notes here, and I'll try to go through these quickly, but unfortunately, and this is in no way to down anybody, especially the parents, because I am definitely addressing all parents tonight, but so I hope no one is offended, but I'm just being honest, which is something that a lot of people can't deal with. One of the notes that I wrote is that Ben Harbor has a history, an awful history of replacing people instead of repairing the problem. We're afraid to deal with facts. We're more comfortable with what suits us. We tailor things to fit our own suit. We ignore and pacify the root of the problem instead of dealing with and addressing the problem. Teachers spend more time disciplining than they can teaching. And basically, it's at a point in place where I personally am fed up because of the simple fact that everybody is to blame except for whose fault it is. We've been replacing board members, we've been replacing superintendents, we've been replacing principals, we've been replacing teachers, and we still are dealing with the same problem. My issue is, at what point are parents going to stand up and take responsibilities for what they are not teaching their kids and what they are not allowing their kids to become responsible for? I am sick and tired of everybody blaming everybody else for things that happen to themselves and their children as if they never brought the problem on themselves. A lot of things are being brought on ourselves as a people because we're always going over the truth and never dealing with the truth. If we are teaching our kids to be responsible for their actions and we're letting them get away with murder as a child, when they grow up and they literally murder, then we want to write a letter to the judge and want the judge to give us leniency. We have to start dealing with the issues, which is us as parents stepping up to the plate, doing what we do. Personally, in my opinion, we have an excellent board group. We have an excellent superintendent. We have excellent principals, we have excellent teachers, and we have good parents. But a lot of these parents have to do more and take responsibility. These teachers are not supposed to discipline your children. They're supposed to teach your children, but they can't teach your children if they can't get your children's attention. We have to step up, we have to step up to the plate. Our school district is fine. Yes, we have things we need to work on, but it's not in the condition that people try to make it. The problem and the real problem, or the real condition, is that we need parents to do what they need to do. Whether a dad is there or not, we need to make better decisions as parents. We need to make better decisions as people and stop blaming the board, stop blaming the superintendent who's doing everything that they can do to help us, and we're the ones that are in the state that need to help ourselves. We need to stop looking for handouts and help ourselves. So that's all I wanted to say, because I'm tired of it always being, blame is always being placed. When I see firsthand how these kids, and it's not all of them, we have good parents, but a lot of these kids need to take responsibility for their actions. They get away with too much, and the board and the superintendent's to blame, and that is not fair.
Thank you so much.
My name is Arthur Lewis, my address is 287 Winter Road. And I have some concerns about my son, Kenneth Lewis, who has traumatic brain damage. And he has not been receiving the adequate care that he's supposed to receive. And the IEP is just terrible. I mean, we have a list of things that we're supposed to do. This has been going on for 4 years. And finally, since I made a complaint, something is being done. I called the school board president, and I talked to the vice president. Now something is getting done. He has a van that comes pick him up. My son is not supposed to get hit in the head. He got slammed in the head. Bus got head slammed on the bus window. They take things from him. They bully him. They tease him, and it's not right. And he has a assigned care pro. For instance, with one parapro he staffed a child with a diabetic lancet, and they never called the other child's parents to report that, and that child should have been tested. And that was a used needle. Nothing was said, nothing was done, and I was mad about it. My son, they did a peace walk. You have a parapro. Somebody called me and said, your son is not being attended. I get calls almost every day saying, his parapro leaves him. She's not with him. He's in the cafeteria and lunch line. She's in this part of the cafeteria. And when they did the peace walk, she was standing out here. I parked over here at the fish place because I had got a call doing the peace walk. So I was in my pajamas. I pulled up and I watched. I said, okay, my son walking on the street. She in the middle watching other kids. And he going across Empire. I said, okay. So then I was gonna go home, and I decided to come back, to turn back around. So she was standing outside the gate. My son was all the way over here with a picnic table. And we got the whole school body. There is no way human possibly be watching my child. And so she didn't even know I came and got him. I had to find him. I took him home, and when I got him, she didn't even know I had him until I walked right past her and stood right there. She didn't even know I was taking him. And it's just terrible. And they kept making promises with the IEP for 4 years, and I'm just not getting an answer. Because I made these reports, now they started to do something now. And this is Jennifer, the behavior consultant from Grand Rapids, who comes here, and she tried to even set up appointments to educate them on this traumatic brain damage. People think that he's okay, but traumatic brain damage, you got different things going on. And you can't just look at a person and say, oh, he's fine. They tell me, ain't nothing wrong with your son. He know better than this. How do you know better than that? You're not a psychologist. He gets treatments, and they don't listen. That's all I have to say. And it's bad when a parent has to sit up in an IEP meeting and cry every time they have a meeting, because you study tell me lies over and over. And they promise things and they never follow up on it.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anita Jones. Pretty much what the young lady had to say prior to us coming up here. She is totally right. My thing is, it is hard for the teachers to teach the class when you got so many disruptive kids. I have challenging kids as well. All 3 are ADHD bad. A lot of medication, Sometimes the medication does not work, but instead of, you know, I think the children just need more to go on, you know, more like a family. A teacher should be my extended family, my extended family when they're here with you. Because to me, when you set your kids out to school, and you know, the teacher is that parent right now, because we're not here. You know, and I feel bad because, you know, so much goes on in the school. I've walked in the schools and it's like a madhouse. The safety of the school, the safety of the children. My daughter came home yesterday and told me about this big brawl in the gym, how bloody it was. You know, I was like, and I felt bad. My heart goes out to the children because without a school system and for our kids, buses, this is not a city. It wouldn't be a city. To me, it's called a lost city because we gotta knuckle down with our kids at home. Just like the young lady said, it starts at home and spreads abroad. You know, I just feel so bad. Sometimes I feel like crying. I'm at the verge right now that my kids is moving out of the district. I have sent my grandkids away. I took care of 5 kids, the 3 that I adopted and my 2 grandkids. I just sent them, the last one, to her mom because she works a lot of hours and, you know, she lives in Annapolis. I had to get my grandson away from here because he would come home and tell us these gruesome stories at ACA. How the teachers just dog him. Just because he don't have a pencil, he gets threw out the classroom because he doesn't have a pencil and then reports he's skipping. I mean, this kid would cry to us how they treated him at ACA. I mean, teachers have to be mindful of what they say as well. And I know our kids have mouths on them, disrespectful. I have one here that come home yesterday, told me how her teacher talked about her hair. What teacher does things like that? You're supposed to encourage the kids, not tear them down. And that hurt my feeling that this teacher would do this to my child. And also told her, I hope you stay in credit recovery until you're 26 years old. What teacher tells a student that? And that teacher was my classmate. I'm tired. Because it's like it's trickling down. It's just, and then you be so scared to say something to the staff or one of the teachers, they're gonna mistreat your child. I done seen it. It done happened already. So my grandson is no longer here. And as of sometime this year, I'll probably be leaving too, because I'm on the verge of looking for something either out the district or out of the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Omar Gavin, and I'm actually going to be turning it over to the students. I just want to say that I'm very proud of the students that are sitting here because in lieu of all of the things that's going on, they made a decision to take part in their own rescue. And they're just going to share some brief ideas from a student organization that they started, and they're teaming up with the Black History Committee to help address many of the issues that they are seeing in the high school as well as in the community. I'll turn it over to the students. And one more thing, they'd be more than happy to do a full presentation if you are willing to give them time on an agenda another day.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Camille Green. My career goal is to be a psychologist. I'm a trained safe talk helper, certified healing conversations coach, youth caucus intern, teen fat books writer, and race equity partner. Now, some of the problems that we've been having in the school are bullying and crime, systematic racism, mental behavior / health issues, division and inequity, racial bias curriculum, teacher shortages, class and lecture shortages, academic struggle, job and skill shortages. And Khaleesi is gonna tell the solutions to the problems.
Hello, I'm Felicia, and some of the solutions we came up with would be promulgating self-perseverance and promoting student voice, providing healing storytelling trainings, listening for solution trainings, and also HBCU adoption teacher recruitment plan, and the importance of mental illness, and providing lyrical dance therapy, jobs, fundraising, holidays that heals the soul, and media that feeds the mind, and also rebranding literacy. And the name of this is the Youth for Life Youth Ambassadors. Peaceful alphabet.
And if she would just please tell who she is and her why for doing this.
My why for doing this is because I've seen a quote that says, knowledge is power, but knowledge shared is power multiplied. So I went to school out of state, and I see passion for education in other students. It made me always want to be number one. And it was hard for me to be number one at the other schools, so I worked hard. I grew a passion for education. And when I came back here, it was kind of easy, and I didn't see the passion for education in the students here. And I want to bring that back to our area schools.
My reasoning for doing this is because of equality. Like I've seen over the news and on social media, all like the biased things that's been happening because of race, and I want to be a part of the solution to fix that.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience?
Hello, I'm Apollonia Ellis, 396 3rd Avenue in Ben Harbor, Michigan. I'm coming here, I have a sophomore at Ben Harbor High School. I understand everybody says that it does start from the home, which it does, but we need to be aware of the environment that we're in the homes that are in this environment. Most of the homes are broken. Some of the parents are locked up, some of the parents, both are locked up. You got some parents, single moms, working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet, so they can't come up to the school to babysit. You know, and I'm not gonna say babysit for lack of better words, but they just can't come up to the school all day because they have to be at work. I, myself, was a former student of Ben Harbor High School, which had no parents. I didn't have a mother, I didn't have a father. I graduated in 2003 in the Honor Society, number 17 in my class, with no parents. But what we did have in place when I was in school, what I did look forward to, I was on the cheerleading squad. Sometimes I didn't even have a home to go to. I used to want to stay at the school. School was like my scapegoat from everything. When I came to school, I had Miss Ross Miller, Miss Ely, Miss Walton, Miss McCree. Those were the type of teachers that I had over me that taught me some of the qualities of how to be a lady, how to be a woman. They weren't just teachers. We had programs, the Sailor Club, when you had a 3.5 or higher, every semester, one day out of the semester, they take you on a field trip outside of the school. We went to Chicago, Detroit. One day they just took us to some house, we played games all day, but those were things that I had to look forward to. Flagpole Club, we prayed once a week at the flag in the beginning of school. Key Club, where people were learning the ability to work the PAC and how to work the systems in there when they ran the talent shows. Pep Club, you know, to show the school spirit. All those things were things that we had to look forward to that made you want to do better in school. And I say all that to say this, it does start at home, but when you have homes that some of the kids aren't getting instruction from because they can't. Some of the parents are ignorant themselves. And when I say ignorant, I'm not saying it in a bad way. Ignorant, the definition of ignorant is not knowing. A lot of the parents are ignorant themselves, so what are they teaching the kids? What can they teach the kids? We are aware of the community that we're in. We're not in St. Joseph. We're not in, the suburbs. We're not. So we need to implement programs to satisfy the program and the students that we're in, that we're dealing with. We can't just say it starts at home when you got this child that don't have a mom. And a lot of people are dying nowadays, where these kids are like, their parents are like really just dying. And they're in school. Usually, back in the days, people were a little older. But nowadays, you have people, moms are just dying. They don't know how to cope with it. They just go to school and they're going on, but they're not really learning how to cope with it, so they're acting out. And the first thing that we say is it starts at home. When sometimes you have kids, I have 4 children myself. I have 3 boys and 1 daughter. She's 15. My boys are 11, 7, and 8. My 15-year-old and my 11-year-old, they go to school with a breeze. But my 7-year-old and my 8-year-old, they give me a hard time. And that just goes to show that it starts at home, but it's not always the home. When I changed my sons, they were going to Morton Hill a couple of years ago, and they were having problems after problems. But at that time, the principal was changing, the teachers were changing. They had a principal intact she was helping me with the necessary programs and strategies, but they came and took her out, and another principal came, and so I had to start all over again. He was getting suspended every day. So now I took my kids out of the school, my younger 2, they're in a private school, I have to pay them to go to school. I couldn't afford all my kids to do it, but I have to pack them a lunch every day, and I have to pay for them to go to school just because I didn't want them to keep getting suspended. And since they have moved and their environment has changed, their behavior has gotten better. It's not 100%, but it has gotten much better. And the reason I say that is the environment has a lot to do with kids and their behavior. If you have discipline and you have those teachers that's not putting their foot down, kids are going to respect it. I'm going to come here, if you have the whole class sitting down and everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, then that one kid coming in clowning and nobody's showing him attention, he'll eventually sit down and join the rest of the class. Like a month ago, I came in and I was just checking in on my daughter, and I went into Miss Ross Miller's class, and she happened to have 3 classes in one class. 3 classes. When I walked in that class, I went to my daughter's other classes. They were hectic. Kids was walking in and out the hallway to the point where I didn't feel safe. And I'm telling the kids, get to class, why are you just in the hallway? How can you just go to each class like that? Because we couldn't do that when we were in school. They didn't play that. When I went to Miss Ross Miller class, she had 3 classes sitting down. Those kids were on their laptops, not saying a word. And I say that to say this. A lot of times it has to do with what you're putting forward. Set your standards. And those kids won't come there trying to disrespect. And a lot of them, they disrespect because some of the teachers are giving them disrespect. In order to give respect, you have to give it. So I just want to know, because today I left my daughter at home. I was scared when I heard about the big fight yesterday. And I know some of the kids, and they were saying that they were bringing guns and stuff to school. Yes, I did make a Facebook post about it because I felt like the school didn't tell anybody about it. We didn't know about it. And I felt like parents should know that this is the rumor that's going around. I don't know if it's true, if they brought guns or not, but I'm going to say that just because the kids may have seen their post, maybe it doesn't stop them from bringing the guns. But I have a daughter, a sophomore, good student. I'm not saying she's perfect, good student, but I was scared to send her to school because I don't want her to end up being an innocent bystander when this big brawl's going on and you have not enough security to break up those fights. I got a robocall that there was not a fight, and there was a fight. There was a fight. And I got it, and it was downplayed. How was the fight? I'm sorry, my love. Who was involved in the fight is not to my knowledge, but I know that it was more than 1 or 2 or 5 or 6 students. Everybody that was involved with that fight, it was a big thing. Like the lady said, her daughter said blood was shed. So you tell me, who wouldn't be scared of that? And so I guess my question is to see what type of security is going to be enforced. Because from my understanding, back in September, we received a $2 million grant to go towards school safety. What did that get applied to?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to ask that we have, how many people are wanting to give comments? Okay, we have this, and after, then we have to close. Yes.
Thank you. Pastor McCoy with Pastor Harpo of First Presbyterian, and Pastor McCoy of McCoy's Memorial Church of God in Christ. I'm here, and I love everything that I have heard so far. I'm very proud of my niece, that lovely young lady that spoke earlier, and then that other young lady that spoke with my cousin. I just want to put that out there. It's a family affair, all right? It's a family affair. And I want to piggyback off what some of the things that were said before I actually tell you why I'm here. Our school is probably one of the best institutions of this area. Why? Because when you begin to look out and scour the world, you will find Ben Harbor graduates. Ben Harbor graduates. So that tells me that Ben Harbor has done a thorough job in educating our students. Now, this is the problem, and it has been stated already. The problem is, it's not just a home problem, it is a community problem. And I get amen on that or not. I know I feel like I'm in my preaching mode, all right? It's a community problem. The community, the young lady stated, and it's the true fact, the young lady stated that she had nowhere to go. I have worked in the men's shelter. In the men's shelter, I have experienced 16, 17, 18-year-olds in the men's shelter. I'm in the men's shelter, and they do have a mother, and the mother do have a place of residency. So why are they in the shelter? So it is a community problem. And so what I would like to propose to the community and to all of our leaders, and that's including those of you that are sitting here on the board, and those of you that are sitting in the audience, I want to invite you out on Thursday at 6 o'clock to come and let's sit, as the Bible said, let's reason together. What we're going to reason about? We're going to reason about how can we, as a community, come up with a strategy or come up with a solution or come up with an idea to combat some of the things that is taking place in our community. How can we do that? How can we do that as a whole? We cannot put it all on the teachers. It's a true fact that the teachers is busy disciplining our students more so than teaching. So let's give them some help. Let's help them. How can we help them? Let's come out Thursday and let's discuss how can we help them. Then the parent. Every parent really don't know how to be a parent. They don't know how to be a parent. They're young themselves. So by being a parent at a young age, they've actually given up their youth, and they don't know how to work that thing together. How can I be a parent and yet be young? Y'all know what I'm talking about. So let's come out, let's have that discussion, let's discuss that. Let's see how can we help them as a community and combat some of this rhetoric that is going on in our community. Because when something happened on the outside of our schools, what happened? It comes on the inside. And so we have to find a way, we, including I, we have to find a way, how can we address this? Our children, they are frustrated. Our children are tired. Our children are facing the limits in their lives. They've grown up at the age of 7, 8, 9, and 10 years old. How do I know this? I used to work in a grocery store. It used to be an 11-year-old coming to the grocery store. And she had a shopping list in her hand, pushing the buggy around in the store. And things that she couldn't reach up on top, I used to have to pull it down for her and give it to her. And I would ask her, where's your mother? At home. How you get here? My uncle. Our children is growing up at the age of 11 years old. So I'm inviting you out. I'm inviting everyone. Let's come out. Let's have a dialogue. Let's talk about this. Let's don't put it all on the teachers. Let's don't put it all on the single parent. If that parent needs help, let's try to help them. Let's try to show them, give them an avenue, give them a place to travel so they will find help. So I'm inviting all of you, everyone, please come out. Let's dialogue. That's at 6 o'clock, 1840 Union. Let's come, let's talk. And what we want solutions. We know the problem. We know what the problem is. We want solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you. Both passes. Next, and then we can take one more. Which we will include.
Ian Goldstein, Ridge Road, Stevensville. A question I have, and this would really be to the state. How does the state expect our district, with roughly 2% of our students performing at grade level, to meet a 15% goal of grade level in 9 months, where we don't have enough teachers and we don't have enough certified teachers? And the second part to that question is that this district has been so heavily in debt to the state that it has been forced to cut off its arms, its legs, its internal organs to cut the debt. Just recently, there was no dance, there's been no theater, there was no music except for the band, there was nothing much in the way of after-school clubs, programs. Is there any possibility that given the circumstances of this particular community, that the state could see its way to forgiving the debt? Because what you have is a situation of educational apartheid. You have 2 miles down the pike an educational palace with every amenity possible. There are indoor batting rooms at some of these schools nearby, and we don't have enough teachers. Thank you.
Margaret Taylor, and you know, she batted it out the park. She batted it out the park because, you know, make no mistake about it, we know that there has not been fighting flesh and blood, but spiritual witness in high places. She called it to the effect. One of the things that I want to stress is that when I was going to school, this man right here, Mr. Mitchell, used to be the head of security. And he had a couple of security guards, and they took care of the whole high school, and we would graduate 400 or 500 at a time. Because there was a discipline policy that you had in place when it came to security. You didn't buy it. And you understand what I'm speaking of. We need real security. I'm talking about when that lady spoke on that $2 million. Ain't no way you're going to get that kind of money and don't have every building in our district secure. It's just impossible. When they gave that money to BBC last September, I complained and asked them, what was they doing with this finance? And we never got an answer. And the things that are happening, it should be happening. And yes, we do have a lot of teachers in our district that don't understand the culture. In order to really raise few security guards, but they got the job done, you know, and that's when we have to go back to the old in order that we can meet, like the lady said, we got 9 months. We got 9 months. You know, how can you possibly turn around something that's been happening in 20 years in 9 months? They forgave the choice school debt, just like I was telling y'all a week before. Ain't no way they could have closed the schools down, so they didn't have to go into no 3-year agreement. It was done because the powers that be want this particular property to do things other than educate the kids. How is it that you partner with Whirlpool in Lakeland, a $1 billion industry, and they can't help you get rid of a debt that's just a small drop in the bucket? Even the tax write-off is need be. So we have to look at what is from what seems to be. And I say that to say this, that we have a lot of great individuals sitting on these school boards. Make no mistake about it. And we have to have individuals that have our best interests at heart being superintendents of this school system. Because it's like everybody that came in, there's been a flaw in the character. You understand me? Because if you're not from here, how can you possibly have a love for the city of Ben Harbor if we hire people from outside Just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, this is just facts. Thank you.
Thank you. We'd like to thank everyone tonight for public participation. And this part of the agenda, I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Walker.
Thank you, Presidency. We have with us this evening 3 members from the Departments of Education, Dr. Vanessa Kiesler, Dr. Paula Daniels, and Dr. Tracy Teasley. And they are here to discuss an addendum or some changes, some upgrades to the partnership agreement based on feedback and input with many, many conversations, and are here to provide some support and guidance.
Thank you, Superintendent Walker, and thank you, President Seats and the board for having us here tonight. Thank you for all of you for taking a time out of what I'm sure is a busy Tuesday to come out and share your concerns, but also to listen to us. So I just said to Dr. Teasley, I said, are all these people here to listen to us? And she said, maybe. So I appreciate you taking time for that. Let me just recap the key components of the partnership agreement, what the partnership model is, and then get into why we're here tonight. As you know, you probably know, and as was referenced in a couple of comments, Benton Harbor has been part of a consent agreement with the state for a number of years now. And in 2016, under State Superintendent Brian Liston's direction, we expanded the way that we work with districts and schools to provide these intensive support using something called the partnership model. So in the partnership model, we sit down with districts who are experiencing lower student outcomes than we want, but we acknowledge, and some of you referenced this in your comment, we acknowledge that districts that are struggling with these outcomes often are struggling with a lot of other factors as well. And so how can we partner with districts to move toward the goals that are important to all of us? Increase student outcomes academically, but also increase well-being, safety, post-secondary success. So we forged the initial partnership agreement with Benton Harbor 9 months ago. And then that initial agreement covered Dream, MLK, and Hull. And we are now adding in Benton Harbor High and ACA to that agreement. The agreement sets goals for improvement in those schools, but also talks about district-wide, district-level change, and focuses on outcomes that are not only test score-based, but also related to attendance, a well-rounded approach to student education. So, like I said, the partnership model is conceived of with the state at the table as a partner and focused on problem solving, strengthening partnership, and getting to the ends that we want. It is a different, has a different flavor than how the consent agreement was. The consent agreement was more out of Treasury with an education plan attached. The partnership model puts the state in a different, in partnership with you in a way that I would say the consent agreement doesn't. So we want to help Benton Harbor problem solve through some of what you are facing. And 9 months into our partnership agreement, we have a few things we think we need to amend the agreement to include to help Benton Harbor get to where they want to go, get to where the board wants, get to where the superintendent wants, and see the kind of improvements that I know are important to all of you. So with that overview, I have, we are recommending at this point 6 actions that will be added to the partnership agreement. I have 50 copies of the handout, so I don't know what your process is without. So I do. While we're passing those around, I will reiterate that the purpose of these additions is to strengthen the partnership agreement, to continue to encourage positive working relationship between the school board and the superintendent, and to support the successful implementation of all the actions in the partnership agreement. As Dr. Walker alluded to, the MBE, under my direction, the state superintendent Brian Liston, have worked extensively to talk to a variety of stakeholders about what's working well in Benton Harbor and what supports we need to ensure the success of the partnership agreement. I have, so you know, because I do believe in transparency, I have shared these individually with Dr. Walker and with President Seat. So this is not the first time they're hearing these, but we wanted to be sure to share these actions at a public venue so we can have discussion. We can negotiate these into an addendum to the partnership agreement. I'm just gonna keep going through the actions if that's okay. All right. So our first action, MDE will appoint a mediator to work with the board and the superintendent. So one of the things we'd like to do tonight, if there is time in the agenda, is discuss what qualities the board and the superintendent believe are important in the mediator so that the state can select the right person to come in and help with what is here. The mediator will be tasked with attending all board meetings, assisting the board and superintendent in identifying areas in which agreement needs to be found, and outlining a schedule for facilitation and mediation to address those areas. So, just like it sounds, a mediator to help us come to one plan that meets the needs of all parties and implement it effectively. The second action, the superintendent and the board, working with the mediator and in discussions with Treasury and the MDE, will identify a plan for central office supports to move the district forward in support of transitioning consent agreement structures where appropriate. So we need to make sure that Benton Harbor has the right people in place. Some of the consent agreement required some certain functions happen in certain ways. We want to take a chance with the mediator and the board and the superintendent to investigate those and make sure we have the right pieces in place moving forward. Action 3, the MDE will work with the superintendent to identify an appropriate support person or persons for her to provide her with the ongoing support, mentorship, and an ongoing thought partner. So as you all, I'm sure, recognize, being the superintendent of a district, any district, is challenging. I know Dr. Daniels has been a superintendent. We want to make sure that Dr. Walker has someone who can really help her think through and make plans, decisions, via a mentor. Mentorship is a key thing. This is a bit more information for you guys, but the Michigan Department of Education supports mentorship and induction for all educators. It's one of our key educator pipeline developments. We've made investments into mentorship in general because we believe that for educators at all levels of the system to improve, having a mentor is a very helpful piece, or a support person in that role, an independent person to help with these things. So, action 4, the MDE liaison, Dr. Teasley is the MDE liaison, will be charged with providing additional reporting and information to the board based on the board's request for information related to the partnership and or the consent agreement. So to ensure that Dr. Walker and her staff are not overburdened with requests when they're and helping them focus on their essential work, but also ensuring the board has access to data and information about the partnership and consent agreement that they need, the liaison can assist with those roles. Action 5, we need to align our Office of Special Education at the Michigan Department of Education has been working with Benton Harbor and Barry and Risa over the past some period of time, year or so, related to compliance with outcomes for special education. And so these actions are meant to bring the work from the state around special education and the ISD into alignment with the partnership agreement so we can have one holistic plan. You don't do special education separate from general education. You educate all your students, and that needs to be a consolidated approach. So we want to bring those actions together in the partnership agreement. And there's 3 specific actions from the Office of Special Ed, and then the 4th is what I just referenced. Benton Harbor will complete the toolkit for discipline in conjunction with the Office of Special Education and Barry and Risa. Benton Harbor will work with the technical assistance provider assigned by the Office of Special Education to correct any non-compliance in conjunction with Barry and Risa. Benton Harbor will comply with the Office of Special Education Action Plan timeline in order to come into compliance with IDEA and MARS. Those are the federal and state laws governing special education. And then MDE will, this is what I just referenced, MDE will coordinate our actions and supports between the Office of Partnership Districts and the Office of Special Education so Benton Harbor receives seamless supports from us, not 2 different things that they need to be working. And then our final action, to understand and support Benton Harbor in their work to create a safe and supportive environment for all schools, the MDE will identify an independent team to come into the district and schools and conduct a safety evaluation. Based on this evaluation inventory, a set of actions will be identified to increase safety for Benton Harbor area school students and staff. It's my understanding that an audit was done by State Police maybe 18 months ago, so we would perhaps start with that audit and work from there. But to make sure we have a plan in place to address the safety of students in Benton Harbor area schools And also, beyond safety and security guards, we continuing to work on, this goes up to some of the other actions, climate, culture, discipline, and positive approaches to that, how we integrate that all into a plan. So that students are safe, but also we're working on safety as a bigger picture. And as I said, these actions have been reviewed and approved by State Superintendent Brian Liston. The incoming school reform officer, Deidre Martin, this is our interim school reform officer, Dr. Paula Daniels, and she's reviewed them as well. And then myself, I'm Deputy Superintendent Vanessa Kiesler, and reflect MBE's approach to modifying the partnership agreement. So like I said, we are here tonight to share them with the entirety of the board, the public, superintendent, and a public meeting for discussion and comments as the TTC read.
Thank you, Deputy Superintendent. So the board has heard what some of the actions are, and at this time, we'd ask the board to begin input, to say what they would desire to see in a liaison to support the board. So the discussion is on.
Yes.
Mediator, special mediator, she's our liaison. Okay, I should say thank you, Dr. Teasley. Thank you. For our mediator, and the discussion is open for the board at this time.
I think my only request would be that we have a fresh start. So whomever would be identified to fill that position would not be anyone who has been involved since the consent agreement and then the partnership were approved.
Thank you. This is somebody we're going to have to work with, so we do need your input on the quality of this individual. Trustee Mama.
I want to be sure that this person is objective. They don't come in with any prejudice, and they try to avoid any prejudice when they get here. That they step back, take an honest look at data, and look for the facts and not opinions.
Thank you. I would like to see a he or she that is more asset driven than problem driven. I mean, most of the time we know what the problems are, and we can no longer just build on the problems. But if we build on the assets of the district and the assets of the individuals, I think we'll have more sustainability in the district, because the problems are consistent across the nation. So I do not want to see somebody who just wants to talk about the problem. Let's build on the assets of these young people that we have, the assets that are in the community. How do we really maximize the assets that we already have within the community? How do we maximize our partnership? So I'd like to see somebody who's more asset driven than problem driven. Board members, and we're talking about Vice Chair Gully. What are the qualities that we're looking for from as board for the mediator that we're expecting to work with this board from the Michigan Department of Education? Yes, Trustee Montgomery.
I would like to see someone who would look at our financial situation correctly and look at what resources we have and use what is available to the best of our ability for the kids' buildings. I also would like that person to realize that we do not need to get further into debt. We have a debt amount that is just awful. That needs to be taken into consideration. That we don't have money that we don't know if we're going to get.
sorry I'm late, but, what I would like to see, being that our partnership agreement is centered around achievement, expulsions, the test scores, and all of that, I would like to see someone who is, I know everybody knows about the finances, but not so much focused on the money, but focused on what the teachers need to address, the test scores, the support systems they need. As far as, I know that there are students with medical issues, we need a nurse. The instructions that they're getting to try to help them identify and help them with, students that may have special needs. They really don't get it displayed. Nobody is actually showing them what they need to do, because the behaviors in the classroom, they can be maintained, but the classroom size is so large that the teachers need help. So I would really like for somebody who is actually going in the trenches, into the buildings, into the classrooms, and comparing what's actually being said that's happening on those data scorecard sheets, and see if that's really the results that are being displayed like right now. Don't wait until like the tests are being taken and say, oh, well, y'all done meet it. Y'all not at 30%. There wasn't an increase, but you can see right now, will there be an increase in place now? Because we have, was it 33 subs in core subjects? So how can we address that? I mean, because that's the ultimate goal right there, the student achievement, okay? The money, yeah, we know we broke, we know we can't afford it, but identifying actually what the teachers and the students need, because at the end of the day, that's the outcome we're trying to achieve, student achievement.
Thank you, Trustee Geller. Trustee Gaines.
I would also like to see this mediator help us with some of our partners, and perhaps look at others who seem to have a willingness to be partners and would like to be. I think we've frayed some relationships, and those relationships, I think, offer some of the assets Trustee Seats was talking about, and could definitely, since we don't have the money to do it, could be helping us a whole lot more than, frankly, I think we're allowing them to.
Thank you. I also would like to see someone who does understand the demographics, and we're not looking for sympathy, nor are we looking for empathy for this area, but I'd like someone who does have the ability to have worked with demographics as far as this Benton Harbor area school district. And I also like to be able to see that person who comes in, help us to frame questions, and helps us to be able to look for what our expectations are out of those questions. Because a lot of times boards frame different questions and they expect a certain answer, but if we don't frame it correctly. So I do like people who know how to do framing. And so that's another one of my expectations for he or she that would support the district. And they don't come in knowing everything. I mean, they come in and be able to do root cause analysis, just like I've heard from the audience. So having the ability to do TQMs, total quality management also, so that we stay compliant with everything that the state, federal, and public teachers and the students expect. So I'd like somebody that has the ability to make sure we remain compliant. Trustee Momini.
Okay, and I also look at actions too. The mediator recommends you identify examples of office supports moving forward. So then that means the mediator will need the skills to help identify the plans for central office support. But can you give me some insight on what you consider central office support?
I think that in general, how the district wants to move forward with staffing from top to bottom needs to be discussed between the board and the superintendent. I think there are some need, it appears that there are some positions that have been proposed that the board has been not sure about, that are more central office based. So that leads us to believe that we need to understand what the whole plan is. And again, thinking too about consent agreement structures that are in place now, which may or may not need to go away, so Treasury needs to be at the table. So while I would say this action lists central office, and I would say that means it's not talking about teachers or the principals, building level staffing. I think as the district works through their plan for addressing the human resource needs that Benton Harbor has, it may go bigger than central office. But what put this on the agenda is I know there is a need to come to some common ground about what supports are in place to do the work. And then some of those positions have come to the board. So the board and the superintendent need to come to agreement on what's moving forward, what's not, why, how we're going to work through this. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but I'm kind of curious why it would not be someone underneath the mentor too. Underneath the mentor who has the skills to be able to analyze staff needs, staff efficiency, and then would that also drive the?
So let me talk, so we have proposed in this, MBE's proposal in this recommendations brings really potentially 4 additional resources to the district from us, from the department. The mediator to assist the board and the superintendent in their negotiations, planning. The liaison, who's already here, whose job is really about the partnership agreement and implementing the partnership agreement, and supports around the partnership agreement. So Dr. Teasley does a number of things that are not spelled out. She's already doing a number of things, and it's really about barrier breaking, helping with implementation. So that role stays the same. Mediator is about the board and the superintendent together. The mentor or support person for the superintendent is not actually a person who's doing work for the district. It's a person who Dr. Walker has access to brainstorm, be a thought partner, counsel. So it's a little bit different than, prior you guys had a treasury consultant. It's not that same idea. It's a different thing. Now, I think that leaves the question of when Treasury had consultants in here, they have done work. And so what are we going to do about the work? But the mentor, the mediator, the liaison, none of those are they're not the equivalent of a Treasury consultant. And then the 4th resource we talk about bringing in is a team or a point person to help with the safety evaluation. So those are all different than what you've seen before, with the exception of the liaison role, which does not change in this.
Okay, so it's not necessarily what I want to see is mediator, but I would hope that the mediator and mentor would have clearly defined job description and so we don't have a power struggle, is what I'm getting to. And I don't want the mediator to say to the mentor, well, that was my job, and the mentor say, no, teacher knows that's my job. So we're clearly defining what their responsibilities are.
I just don't see why central office can't do central office. They can't do the job. As is outlined in their contracts. I don't see why special help is needed to actually do the job that's, being paid at such a high rate. You would think that there would be an expert on everything. So I guess that's what I have a concern with. We focusing on central office, but we're not focusing on what's going on in the schools. There will be no central office if we don't address what's going on in the schools. MBE will not be here to hire anybody or bring anybody in if we don't address what's going on in the schools. Because there won't be no schools. So we have to address what's going on in the schools. I feel like we're wasting time with this liaison trying to help out somebody who's supposed to know and be a turnaround person for our district, but have to get counseling. Then maybe we need to rethink the whole position and scope of how we're going forward, because central office don't need no more help. Everybody is at a high rate of pay, and the teachers are struggling with the kids who provide the outcomes of y'all determinations. So we've been in this consent agreement for 2014. Y'all coming here with this? I
I feel like it's a waste of time. The mediator, who is the mediator? No expertise, and because we already just had, the person y'all brought to us that we had to hire, that was also a superintendent. Two superintendents in central office, an ex-superintendent of X amount of years, and then the superintendent that we hired. So they're using their strategies based upon what their knowledge was to implement, but not really, considering the teachers, because they're not communicating with them. So I don't see how this is gonna work, and this is gonna be the solution, because the considering consultant, as y'all put in there, was supposed to already identify what our needs were. Y'all was supposed to already know. Y'all was the experts. Y'all came, y'all took this over, we're gonna change, we're gonna partner with y'all. Now y'all want us to come in with a mediator to say, oh, this person is gone. Tell y'all about the consent agreement again. How many times you gotta learn about that? When the kids are still struggling. When we don't have teachers, that's where we need the money, not for no mediator. We already got one. We got somebody at a high rate of pay that we're paying, that y'all paying for too. So that's the person we hold accountable for the results. Not nobody to say, oh, I need to brainstorm so I can see how I can tell the board what they need to do in order to get this done, because I don't feel that central office needs not one more position, not one more program, not one more structure, not one more blueprint. We have gone through so much. We have changed so much for what MDE has wanted us to do in Treasury, that it's like, we just like guinea pigs. We got books. Do you see how many supplies we got in store to school? From books, stacked up, go visit them schools and see how many changes that have been implemented and the supplies that we have left over from what we are in compliance with what y'all want us to do. We've done everything. I've been here for the whole thing. Treasury wants us to do this. If we don't do this, then the school's gonna close. If we don't do this, they come in and take over. If we don't do this, they're gonna send an emergency financial manager. We had one. Actually, matter of fact, we had two brothers that came in. They're gone. The young lady that came in, she's gone. So what are we doing? We're not addressing the kids, the teachers, the learning, the test scores. Did you see it? That was at 0. So y'all been here since 2014. We still at 0. Central office don't need no more help. They need accountability. They need to follow the rules and make it clear.
Thank you. Board members, you still have opportunity to let MDE know what the expectations from this board are for the individual that they will be bringing. Could you expound at this time, one of the things and the concerns I've heard from the public when some of the public members found out that we may get some more assistance, and one of the comments was they heard this before. What will make this any different? What will be different this time for Benton Harbor area school? And are the expectations higher, or are there more limitations? If you would, please.
I want to take a moment and return to where I started in terms of why we are here and why we are talking about the partnership agreement. So the partnership agreement does seek to keep the board and the superintendent, the district, in the driver's seat around what you, Benton Harbor, are going to do to improve student outcomes. At the present time, when we look at the implementation of the partnership agreement, there are some barriers. And so this plan is less about MDE saying, per se, you need to do one thing or the other, but these are areas where you need to get to agreement as a district around what you're going to do. And so we have tried to actually take a step back, thank you for the question, Presidency, and say, at this point, after various consultants, after various things, where could we continue to try to strengthen the agreement and what could be different? And what we need to get to, what we're trying to invest in, is an empowered district, board and superintendent, working together, pulling in the same direction toward the outcomes you want to see for Benton Harbor students. So we have brought to the table supports to help Benton Harbor do Benton Harbor's work with the state at the table as a partner, but we are trying to empower those closest to the work to do the work in the way that they need to. So do I know for a fact that this will be different? No. What do I think is different? I think it's less prescribed for Benton Harbor. Now, these are specific things we're going to do, but you do notice that with the exception of the special ed one, which relates to specific actions, many of them say MDE will provide someone to help you come to an agreed upon plan. But the plan, like the partnership agreement, is Benton Harbor's. So I think it's we need something to be different, is your point, President Seeds, and we would agree. So this is our thoughts on what would help help strengthen the relationship, help capitalize on Benton Harbor's assets, to your point, use your words, and also support Benton Harbor in areas where they need additional supports.
Yes, Trustee Momney, if you would, could you grab the mic? People in the back are having trouble hearing you.
I'm using my teacher voice, sorry.
Okay.
So as we take our suggestions of what we want in a mediator, is this the kind of thing that we will then find in the job description when you seek somebody?
Yes.
So we can see that job description?
I think that would be a good idea. We will be responsible for finding a person and for hiring that person. And I think it was your point, Trustee Momney, being clear about, and we will work with all of you on this, this is what their job is, this is what the asks are. As we say here, they'll be tasked with attending, assisting, and then this schedule. What problems are we going to address? When are we going to address them? And when will there be a resolution so that we're not discussing forever, that the mediator gets to, this is what we're going to do, this is when we're going to do it by. So we can commit, I think that's a great idea, to pulling together the job description as well as so the job description would have both qualities and then the tasks that we assign to the mediator. Thank you.
I have one more question about the safety evaluation. One of my concerns is I think that we do have assets, as Trustee Seats indicated. We have interventions. I'm a relatively new board member, and when I came on, and so I'm going to just use this example of what I'm concerned about. So let me back up. So when I look at what the safety evaluation is going to do, it's going to recommend actions. I think we've had recommendations for actions. I think that one of the problems we've had is implementation around the safety issues. We have interventionists. We have PBIS staff. So what are we not doing that is not reducing the kinds of behaviors we're seeing in the schools? So, and I just been sitting in a lot of the hearings with President Seats, and I won't get into that now, but I will tell you, see a lot in terms of my questioning what we're actually doing to reduce safety, and I'm sure there's a lot of repetitive folks.
Thank you for the question, and I am wishing that I had worded this slightly differently, because I think you're right that even before a safety evaluation, it would be an inventory of what action plans already are, where we're at with implementation. So it's both a safety evaluation and implementation evaluation. And I would suspect you'll find you've implemented some things really well, and you're far along in implementation, and some not, or perhaps you implemented them well and then something happened. Key person left or something, and so you maybe backtracked a little. So step one, and I think what the state does too often is comes in and says you have to do steps X, Y, Z, when perhaps you've already done steps X and Y, but we haven't seen all the outcomes yet. So first we want to understand the lay of the land in terms of safety plans, current safety and implementation of those plans, and then come up with an additional implementation plan, which we will build then into the partnership agreement and track the implementation of with the accountability around that. So before we prescribe the specific actions, we need to understand more about where Benton Harbor is really at. I wanted to be clear on that. But that would be the outgrowth, is an actual implementation plan, not just action steps.
So I hope that when you do your plan, that the plan is not done from a desk chair. Into the school buildings during school hours while the children are there. It's none planned, just go walk in by yourself, nobody with you, don't tell nobody to come. Go in there, show your bag, sign in, I'm a visitor, I'm with Michigan Department of Education, show your ID, and then see what's going on. Before you say, this is the plan that's gonna work. Talk to the staff. Just observe. Because I don't see how any plan is gonna be successful without you actually going in and seeing what needs to be done. Because that's what the problem is. The plans are being made behind the desk. Saying, oh, this is gonna work because we read a study.
Yes, the plan is, as it says in Action 6, an independent teacher come into the district and the school.
Well, they think district central office.
Well, that's why I specifically wrote it for the district, because there are district-wide discipline plans, safety plans, we would need to evaluate, and then there's school level, and both need to be part of the evaluation. So
that's what I would like to see.
May I piggyback off of Trustee Gully and ask, is that what you all consider an assessment? Because you made a statement earlier about there have been decisions that the board has not agreed to because of lack of information, or reluctance to approve things, because we were not comfortable, financially, or we were not comfortable. And I'm glad some of the decisions we did make, because later we found out there were persons in place. So is this staff assessments that we're looking at to see if there's duplication or redundancy in staffing? Are we too much here, not enough here? And so, you know, we may be accused of saying no a lot, but it has been definitely, because we're proceeding with caution, that we make decisions that are sustainable. So is that going to include an assessment of staffing, along with what Trustee McGowan talked about, the financial also?
So specifically on Action 6, no, that's about safety in the buildings and the district. In Action 2, and again, I want to stress that NDE in this has called out places where we see that you, Benton Harbor, are not pulling in the same direction. Between the board and the superintendent, possibly between your community and your partners. So what we want to do is call them out, be explicit, and say, you guys have got to get on the same page, or get on a page. Somehow, that's where the mediator comes in. So I would imagine in Action 2, that is where we specifically know, and again, I'm going back to what we know when we started to look into implementation. We know that there have been positions brought forward that the board has not been comfortable with. Why or how, that doesn't get into, but that tells me, that tells us that this is a point where there needs to be resolution, and those were central office positions. Now, if with the mediator, the district wishes to talk more broadly about staffing and some of the questions raised from the audience about shortages and intervention, I know the district needs to deal with those things as well, and the state's willing to partner on that. But we do need to know how, we don't want to, for example, it would be bad to say, we'll invest in 10 new substitute teachers for Benton Harbor to help with X, and find out later that somebody wasn't on board with that plan. So now we've made an investment from the state that wasn't consistent with the direction of the board and the superintendent. So I would say Action 2 with the mediator is a good place for those discussions to happen. We know they need to happen around central office because of the previously mentioned talks. If you guys are putting on the, if you want to put on the table with the mediator that discussion is expanded, that's that would be your decision to do that.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent Trustee Gay.
What is the venue for working with a mediator?
That's a really good question. I guess I would like to perhaps hear the board's thoughts on that. As we said here, they will attend the board meetings. There will be, the way this should work is attending the board meeting, looking for places where there is where more discussion needs to happen. Again, mediation facilitation is where we're going to dig into this issue and put both sides up and come to a resolution. Where all of those facilitations happen and how, I think I would need to task the mediator with working with the board and the superintendent to outline a schedule for that. Some of them are more appropriate for closed sessions, some are more appropriate for open, there's probably a mix. So I think that would be one of the things the mediator would be tasked with, is identifying how and where those sessions are going to happen. I know it's not a specific answer, but I think it depends on the topic and the length of time, and do you need a work, there's a lot of, each topic could be handled differently. Certainly the outcomes of all decisions would be presented back in public board meetings with documentation with the state and treasury knowing. So if the process happens in different ways, the outcomes will always be presented publicly. And I think that's a really, I'm making a note to add that to the job description and the meeting.
Yes, Trustee McGowan.
Do you have a timeline as to when this will begin?
We would like to get this addendum negotiated and signed as soon as possible. That's why we are here. We were here. We've been here a couple times in the last couple weeks. That's why we're here. And that's why thank you for pulling this session together so we can talk about this. As soon as we have the agreement signed, we'd like to get the mediator in place really as soon as possible. Ideally, what is now? Ideally within a month or 6 weeks. But very soon. Sooner if we can, again, but I know sometimes if we want to be sure you've seen the job description and be sure we agree on some of those things take a little bit longer, but it is top, then that's why it's action 1. That's the first of these actions that will make sure it happens, although we can currently work on several of them.
Any more questions or input from the board at this time?
Try to be optimistic, if this feels like somebody told on somebody and they asking somebody to come in to tell us what we need to do to help or whatever, but I don't know. So I'm gonna try to be optimistic about that.
Thank you. So if there are no more input from the board at this time, I'll turn it back over to Deputy Superintendent.
I appreciate the discussion and the feedback on the mediator and on the plan as a whole. And I want to take a minute and say, MDE and myself on a personal level, Dr. Daniels, Dr. Teasley, Superintendent Liston, we are very invested in Benton Harbor's success. We truly are. And so we actually want very much to sit at a table and problem solve with all of you and figure out how to move forward. Benton, you are right that the state has been involved in Benton Harbor in different ways for a while. And so your success and your lack of success is on us as well. So this is not us trying to come in and say somebody tattled, as much as let's have transparent discussion around what's working and what's not working and put some supports in place. So we can see the success, we can all see the success. And I know it's closer to home for all of you. These are your kids in your school. But we are invested alongside you, and your success and your progress forward is on us just as much as it's on you. So that's why we're here tonight, to speak with all of you. We want to keep working together, knowing that there aren't easy solutions, but we do believe that as we partner and invest, that we can move forward. And we've seen positive movement already in 9 months. There's some early positivity, but we want to have the tough discussions around where there's less positivity. So we don't make the change we need to make by only focusing on what's going well when something else needs to be focused on. So thank you for having us. This is very much MDE strategizing about how to support Benton Harbor and where you're trying to go.
Thank you. So item C, is that on the agenda? Is that the superintendent input, or how is this work? Okay, we covered C under MDE. So before they, okay, it was included in your own. Okay. So no other questions or input to, and we want to thank you for coming over the highways, and thank you for your continued support. We do look forward to seeing who is going to be assigned. I'm sorry, You can speak up, trustee Mama.
We gave input on the mediator. Do we want to give input on mentor?
Is that something that we can have an input on, Deputy Superintendent?
Board has thoughts about that, I think we should take them now. I mean, we'll entertain thoughts from the board on anything in this agenda, so please share if you have.
Well, I think a lot of what you said about
Yes, I think I was making a note that some of the mediator comments probably relate more specifically to a mentor type of role, but feel free to.
But then one of my concerns is that it's somebody that can help with seeing priorities and focusing on what is the most important, what needs to be done first, second, third, or last. Because I feel like we're putting out 50 million fires, and sometimes some of those get out of hand. So I like to make sure we're concentrating on what really we need to focus on, and that the mentor can help work that out and help bring some focus to that.
And not by conversation, by observation. So that's, I'm gonna keep saying.
Are you, trustee McGowan?
I was going to say that I hope that the mentor will be somebody that their focus is learning. Whether it be finance or jobs or anything, that they're focused on, because the bottom line is the kids. And we need to be heading in the direction where our kids are going to benefit finally.
Trustee McGowan.
I didn't know whether to ask this now or not, but I guess I will now. I have a big concern as to how we are going to sustain our operations as they are currently configured. And that's, I mean, you know, I'm talking about finances. And ask questions, giving answers, and I would like, you know, for you guys to look into it more of that, because the information I'm getting, I don't see how we can continue.
Yes, the short answer.
On behalf to the superintendent, I mean, we're not eliminating the ability to communicate. So their major role is to make sure what?
So with the mediator is actually another word we could use here as facilitator. Actually, my goal would be that the mediator helps get the board talking directly to the superintendent more easily and more frequently and more successfully than appears to be happening right So they will be like, literally like a mediator says, and you've all been through mediation or seen it, or you understand, what do you think, you hear each other, you agree to this, here's what we're going to do moving forward. The mentor or support, or I'm not, maybe not even as strong as a mentor, but the thought partner person, that person may communicate with you guys, but they really will be for the superintendent to dialogue with. They will not be communicating with you on behalf of the superintendent.
And how is the success of these two individuals evaluated?
I think that's a really good question. The mediator, I think obviously if we have, I think we should think about some evaluation criteria from both the board and the superintendent. So perhaps that's a homework assignment I could leave with all of you to think about what we do. But for me, the mediator would have been successful if the board has worked through some of these actions with the superintendent and come to agree upon a plan so we can see that. And the mentor, with success of that, is a little harder to quantify because it's really more about, I'd have to think about how you quantify success with mentoring. Because it's more, when we think about mentoring and the way we support it throughout the education system, the outcomes are a little harder to quantify because it's about professional practice and support, and how do you quantify how much thought partnering I get? That gets a little bit more challenging. So I want to think more about that.
Yes, Trustee Moon.
Section 4, the NDA liaison in charge of providing additional reporting information to the board based on the board's request for information. We need to find out a little better. What kind of stuff can I bug Dr. Teasley about? What kind of stuff are we going to see from her?
I'm trying to think of a clear way to answer that. I think it would be, so what we want to make sure that the liaison is doing is supporting the partnership and consent agreement. So for example, if the board wants to investigate the possibility of starting a scuba diving program, that might not be something specifically that Dr. Teasley would be tasked with. But if the board needs information on implementation, how implementation is going, or you ask Dr. Walker for information on implementation and we need some more data, Dr. Teasley can help pull that information together. So I think we would need to, the way I would see going forward is the board would identify a list of information they needed, share it with Dr. Walker, and then we would work through what Dr. Teasley, can help pull together. I know that's a little bit more iterative, but I still am cognizant of it's easy for me to say, Tracy will help you with every report that you want on Tuesdays. But I don't know that that will fit your needs or the needs of Dr. Walker and the needs of the partnership agreement. So just like the liaison to help with data collection and analysis around the partnership agreement, knowing that that is work that's very important, but that may be challenging to accomplish if Dr. Walker is focusing on instruction and students in schools. So how the liaison can be an additional resource.
So anybody got any questions? Trustee Mitchell, did you have any questions? On that statement, Deputy Superintendent, can I see your hand, thank you. Implementation, okay, I think that may be a gray area. I know the board can do evaluation, who is charged with execution, and then who is charged with operation. So when you said implementation, are we crossing the line if we think that we can do implementation? I know we can do evaluation. Execution and operation belongs to the individual. So when you said implementation, I was kind of concerned that we're not asking for something and then we cause offense to anybody's role. So that's why I asked about evaluation, execution, and operation.
That's a good question. Not to say this mediator is going to get here and have a list as long as my arm of things to work through, but I do think that would be a good question to have the mediator facilitate a conversation on, which was, a question. And I think, President Seats, you said that about someone who can help figure out how to frame questions and look for expectations. So what information does the board need? And then how do we use the liaison and the superintendent and the team to get that information? So again, I want to go back to, I think we need to have a discussion around that with the mediator to make sure that, and I appreciate you calling out, should we be looking at implementation, should we be looking at, where is the board's role, where is the superintendent's role, where is everyone's role? That's an excellent point. So the intent of Action 4 is simply to say, we have a person already in the district who knows the district information provision to the board, to the superintendent as well, to any, be a resource for getting the data and pulling it together. And we'd like to see that role used that way.
Trustee Gay.
As I'm sitting here and we're asking these questions, and I know this is just the beginning, but just to sort of give the community idea of what some of this conflict has been, which you brought up when you're talking about central office, is having looked at how other districts are operating all over our county. And then looking here, you just made the comment with, if we're needing data, and that takes away from Dr. Walker's ability to be working on curriculum and instruction, except that we now have an assistant superintendent who is charged with that. So that just is one of the conflicts, obviously, that we have when you're talking about adding, and we also have a curriculum person on top of that. So that is one of the issues that we have had, is how are all the central staff utilizing and being efficient with the jobs that they, and they're heavy jobs, there's no doubt about it. They're difficult jobs in this district. So I'm not minimizing that, but, in terms of the way I've made some decisions, it has been looking at literally every district in Marion County and frankly across the state and other districts in similar circumstances, with the same size student body.
I think that, as I continue to throw out examples, this continues to get to why we MBE have tried to say, we see that there are needs in these areas, but the deep root cause and what's really going on, I don't want to say you need to try to guess, because I truly don't know exactly why. I know that we need to figure out these areas. I will go back to what Trustee Romney said about priority setting. And I would ask, is it the priority job of the superintendent to be tracking down data on and their attendance, let's say? I think that's a really important data question. I don't know that it would be Dr. Walker's top priority. Even if she makes it a top priority, is that the best use of her time? Whereas Tracy or Dr. Teasley could easily compile that information, walk through it with the board, with the superintendent, with whoever wants that information. So again, just thinking about priorities, so many hours in a day, and where we want each person focusing for all the central office staff, for the board, for our principals, our teachers, and then our liaison, and just naming, escalating, or elevating to you and say, we want to put some more resources on the table. And so here's a resource that we think can help with something I've heard the board say, if we need more information on certain things, we'd like more information, we can help with information. Sometimes it won't be appropriate for the liaison to do it, it's Dr. Walker's team does it. Other times, maybe it's not information the board needs, the mediator might say, that's not really actually in your lane to ask for that. So I think we need to continue to work it through. But I appreciate you raising the question, and that's the intent of this being here, is this idea of priority and making sure that we have someone at the table who can assist with resource where we need to.
And you know what? We actually got a position for that too. A data person. So everything you're saying, somebody is in that role. So we would definitely need to assess it.
Well, then perhaps the liaison won't be very busy.
Right.
Trustee Harmon.
No.
Okay. Trustee.
Okay, so, sorry. My thing is, okay, so the mediator is going to determine the best solution for the situations that have been presented to you all, which I'm not sure what they are. Because me, I'm like, okay, it's really not complicated to me. But maybe, through somebody else's eyes, it's complicated. But to me, it's not. Because when I go to work, look at my information, follow the rules, this is the procedure, this is how I'm supposed to implement it. And when I deviate, I may have to deviate and think outside the box to address the uncommon situation. But I still am along within the guidelines of the policies and procedures. So this has become far more difficult than, just having a person accountable for the actual policy and implementation. And, everybody underneath just fall in line. Let's get the work done. Let's do it. Let's do what we say we're gonna do, because that's been a problem all along. Then Harvard is not doing what they said they were gonna do. And then when we say, well, you said you were gonna do this, there's a deviation, and the deviation is like, wow. You gotta do a whole other paragraph and a whole other situation. So I don't feel that this is hard. So hopefully the mediator and the mentor is going to actually bring about a change, because the change has to come. But my thing is, how are they going to determine what level of expertise, the actual desired outcome? Because for me, I am one that is not influenced by others' opinion if I don't see that it's feasible. So are they going to assess all of our input and then say, we feel that this is best, or where is their expertise in actually making a recommendation coming from? Is it how are they going to derive to this conclusion? Because I feel like we all kind of got some sense up here. We do agree on some things, maybe not all things, but we do kind of come to a common agreement. So how are they going to, because I'm trying to see the desired outcome. If the desired outcome is just hiring one of positions, I'm not so sure about that. What is the desired outcome of this mediator? Because I didn't know it was a problem with our partners. I wasn't aware of that.
You asked a few questions in that, in there, but I think I'll focus on what's the desired outcome of a mediator. The desired outcome of a mediator is to facilitate conversations, like it says here, attend the board meetings, assist the board and superintendent in identifying areas in which agreement needs to be found, and outlining a schedule for facilitation and mediation to address those areas. So what's board's direction, what's superintendent's vision, how are those aligned now? And if they're not aligned, how are they going to be aligned? And then what's the process to get to alignment? The mediator is not actually tasked with coming up with the solution. You all have the solution.
Okay.
The mediator is tasked with getting you on the same page about what the solutions are.
So whose page though? If we see that the page that we're on, all torn up, all crumpled, misspelling of the words, there's no end, there's always a different story. You keep telling it's one story, then it's a different story, then it's a different story, and then it's a different story. So how are we going to draw a conclusion off of 59 different stories? You got to think about that.
Well, it's more that I think that that question is, I will return to what the mediator will be tasked with and what the purpose of mediation is bringing idea. Whether the page is torn or how many stories or whatever, the board and the superintendent need to get on the same page about where the district is going. And the mediators help you get there.
Okay. All right, we got a lot of pages.
Superintendent,
That's your job. So you just said where we're going. I think my additional comment is, frankly, I don't think that there's disagreement about where we're going. I think our issues are how we're going to get there.
Okay. So we have no further, comment from the board, the attorney. Are you on? Okay. We would also like at this time, thank you, for coming again. And the board and the staff would like to, give a card. We'd like to thank, former trustee Eleanor Gavin, for bringing us a get well card to the board and to the staff for Superintendent Winston. So we, want him to know that we do appreciate, would like him to get well soon. So I believe all the board members have signed and the staff has signed. And Trustee Gavin, thank you so much for your thoughts and considerations towards our superintendent at the state level. Thank you. Get ready to go? Oh, that's you all are excusing yourself. Have safe travels. Thank you. Just give them 1 second. Okay, thank you. At this item on the agenda 3, real estate offer, staff report number 1, Carolyn Gibbs.
It only works. There we go. This says we've had 3 different offers come in. We reviewed them the last couple of meetings, but there's one in particular that we're asking the board to revisit. This has to do with the property that's behind Martindale. And this is actually where the homeowner actually has been paying the taxes on this land. It's a very small piece of the land. And so we're asking if you all feel okay with it to go ahead and approve this so we can get this completed and done.
So you have the real estate offer before you, and I would like to entertain a motion. I have a motion. Can I get a support? I have a support. Any discussions, questions, or concerns at this time? No, not, that's not this one.
Okay, I just want to say I feel bad about this gentleman, just been so frustrated for so long about this piece of property where, and the value system now, somehow his house accidentally got built on part of our property. And so we're selling him that chunk of property in which part of his house sits on, and he needs it desperately, so I'm glad we're gonna get this done.
Any more discussion? Madam Secretary, if you call the roll, please.
Okay,
Oh, I think she did.
I'm sorry.
For the city.
Okay, so, I'm sorry. So this is the land on Martindale. So as Ms. Momini said, it is where the individual homeowner's house is actually on a piece of our property. The policy references the disposition of real property, and we're recommending that the Benton Harbor Area School Board of Education votes to accept the offer, which is for $2,000.
Okay, staff report number 1 is before you. Madam Secretary, if you would call the roll.
Ms. Gatz?
Yes.
Mr. Allen? Ms. Momini, yes. Ms. Gully?
Yes.
Ms. Seeks?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 4 on the agenda, human resources. We have the MCAN College Advisor and Trustee Gass.
I would like to move to table this issue until our February.
Okay, I have a motion to table. Do I have a support? I have a support. Okay, motion to table does not allow any discussion, and so at this time, would you call the roll?
Mr. Gowan? Yes. Ms. Conley, yes. Ms. Gully?
Yes.
Ms. Seats?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes, with the, this was the, February.
Yes.
That's correct.
And Ms. Gass?
Okay, detailed information, on job duty staff report number 2. Okay, so we have no other items on the agenda, and so at this time, I have no other comments. Superintendent?
I just want to reiterate the invitation from Pastor McCoy to the Benton Harbor, Safety Coalition this Thursday, February 2nd at 6 o'clock at McCoy's Memorial Church on Union. So we do hope that those of you that are here will also attend that event as well. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, board comments, we'll start with, Trustee Mitchell. Trustee Gass. Trustee McGowan. Trustee McGowan, Mom. Trustee Gellin.
No comment.
Is there any other business under item number 8? Any other business at this time for the board? No other business. Is there any board announcements or reminders? That's all of it.
If you haven't, completed your self-evaluation with MASB, you have until tonight. Or opted to have. I don't know. Yeah, and I know Mr. Taylor did his. Okay, so we should be set. I'll give you the information off of the result. Well,
At this time, I would take a motion for adjournment and support, Madam Secretary, if you call the roll.
Okay, Ms. Gully? Yes. Ms. Seats?
Yes.
Ms. Conley? Yes. Ms. McGowan? Ms. Gass? Yes. And Mr. Mitchell?
Motion carried. We are adjourned.